victories against Amalek prior, but Samuel's edict doesn't mention in 1 Samuel chapter 15, it doesn't mention those victories. God specifically mentions the attack when they first came out and crossed the river, or crossed the Red Sea. God wasn't even bothered. Those victories were a lead up to where I'm trying to go now. I'm not worried about those little victories that I gave you. I gave you some small victories so you'd have a winner's mindset. But right now, I made a promise, and you're going to be used to carry out the promise. Now, the problem is Saul did not immediately deal the way he should have dealt. And by the time Samuel got to Agag and killed him, somebody had already survived. Somebody had already survived. Somebody had already escaped. Somebody had already been gone, squirreled away by the devil. If you don't get rid of the sin in your life, the devil will squirrel it away. 500 years later, 500 years later, Haman popped up, ready to kill every Israelite he could get his hands on. And he almost succeeded. See, sometimes if you will just do what God told you to do, the first time, the way he told you to do it, it's not going to take three or 4 weeks of all-night prayer meetings to save your soul and to save your family. If you will just do what God tells you to do the first time, the way he told you to do it. It won't take a Mordecai having to save the king's life. It wouldn't take an Esther to be strategically placed by God and for the king to be there and the king to really be in love with her and for her to have to fast and pray and the whole nation to fast and pray because the gallows were waiting for them. All of a sudden we're facing death. I wonder if King Saul had seen that, what he would have thought. Yes. It's my fault. I did that. Now he was upset because right after he didn't follow this order, God took the kingdom from him, and that's what he spent all the time upset for. But I wonder if he had seen what he had just caused, the heartache and the trouble that he had just caused, if he might have took a step back and said, you know what? I understand. I apologize. Obedience would have been better than the sacrifice. So there's a lot of people that they go on and on and on and on and on about how you don't need a pastor and how there shouldn't be one man lording over everybody else, which you shouldn't be lording over everybody else. But thank God we don't have that. You shouldn't be lording over everybody else and beating people over the head. And so they don't want a pastor. But sometimes the man that God speaks to will say things to you that you don't understand. Samuel told Saul, he said, obedience is better than sacrifice. And Saul never understood what that meant, but the children of Israel ran right into that saying 500 years later. It took 5 centuries for God to finally be able to fulfill his promise because the children of Israel weren't in the mindset to get rid of people.
Well,
if Saul had done what he is supposed to do, there wouldn't have been any Amalekites to come take the camp of Ziklag from David. They wouldn't have been there. They would have been gone. They wouldn't have been running around through the hills, scattered, because Saul would have killed every single one of them. Everyone. And the second tribe that God hates is Moab, the Moabites. God was so mad at them. God hated them so much, he said, they won't step foot in the tabernacle. And if you have a descendant, they won't. If you marry one of them, you can't step foot in the tabernacle for 10 generations. Sister Benson, that's mad, ain't it? You're supposed to come to the temple. I want you to come worship me. But if you marry one of them, you're not stepping in this tabernacle for 10 generations. I don't even know how many great-grandkids that is. That's a whole bunch. That's a whole bunch. I don't know if they were living a long time then, but I don't know if you make that. I don't know. You will never come back to this temple if you marry one of them. Never will you step foot in this temple. And there were people that still did it. The Moabites were always around. They were always just there. They were cousins. They came from Lot. They came from when Lot had to run away from Sodom and Gomorrah because, again, dad made the bad decision, so now children had to suffer. And then mom and dad again made a bad decision, so now the children had to sit there and suffer. And then mom made a bad decision, so now the children had to suffer. And so Moab is a product of the incestuous relationship between Lot's oldest daughter and Lot himself. And for those of you that think just a little wine for the stomach's sake, sometimes that little wine leads a little far. And so them girls got their dad drunk 2 nights. Conspired together to get their daddy drunk 2 nights so that they could have kids. Because would nobody else come? They were sitting up there in the mountains, never came out the mountain, never kept going past the mountain. They just stayed in the mountain because they were afraid, because they made a mistake one time and they had to run away. And they let themselves get caged in like people do. Oh, I did oh no, it's just tough over there. Oh no, I will never go to another place like that. When God may be calling you, God may have moved you away from that place, and he may say never go back there again, but he may be trying to put you over here.
That's right. That's right.
Nothing told them to stay up in the mountains, away from civilization. Nobody told them that. They told them that. And then all of a sudden, because they didn't do fully what God said, all he said is don't look back. But because they didn't do what God said, they got themselves in a situation. And now we have a problem. Lot shouldn't have gone down there in the first place, but he did. And then when he got to Sodom and Gomorrah, he should have figured out that there was problems and left and took his family out of that sinful place. But he didn't, for whatever reason. And then when the angels came to get him, they didn't want to leave. Amen. See, mom and dad, sometimes we make decisions and our kids are the ones that suffer. And then our kids grow up to be Moabites who have issues. The Moabites are always around because they're cousins, right? They're cousins to the Israelites. And they are always pulling at the children of Israel to go after the gods that they have figured out. I don't know where they got them from. I didn't do that much. I didn't want to overwhelm you with that much research, but they are always going after these other gods, one of the main ones being Chemosh. And whatever sin they could get the Israelites to commit, the Moabites represent a type of the world. They're an ideology that today is spread far and wide, and it takes hold by the minute. It's an assimilation idea. We're all the same. You don't have to do all that. You can worship over here. Ain't nothing special about that particular place. Just because they say you need to do this, don't mean you got to do it. See, we got some gods too. They got a god, we got a god. They have a temple, we build temples too. Sister Benson, they got the temple. They got some nice temples. They done some archaeological digs. I mean, they got some nice temples. Tall, big courtyards. They got all of the figurines in there that they use to worship their gods. I mean, nice stuff. Compared to the Israelites and they little tabernacle in the wilderness that they got to pick up and take down, and these little furs that they got on it. They got brick and mortar. Amen. But sometimes, I was thinking about this morning, people will go to a church because people start going to churches because they're big and because they look nice. We've had somebody come here and say, oh, that's not really a church they have in church. Where they have? Oh, no. See, they need to be a big building. Okay. But whether I'm in a big building or whether I'm outside underneath a tree, I'm still going to preach the truth. And you need to find where the truth is, because you can go to hell sitting on a very nice, very comfortable pew. Brother Dustin said it today. You've got the broad way and you've got the narrow way. Now, which way do you going to choose?